Welcome, everyone, and
Thank you.
thank you for tuning in to another episode of Undeniable. I'm still trying to get used to is it episode segment? It's so new and still in our infancy, but Undeniable is about just discussing those amazing things that God has done in our lives. I am joined today by Kathy Chambers, my sister in Christ. We're dressed up in similar colors because we're here at the church at the historic Alfred Street Baptist Church
Yes.
for a recording.
Yes.
This is one of the new types of recordings that we've done, and where we got us spaced out in the sanctuary, singing "Come Thou Fount." It's going to be, I guess, the pastor's anniversary.
The church anniversary.
Church
Yep.
anniversary. So that should be coming up soon.
Yes.
But I want to thank you again, Kathy, for joining me, and I just want to hear your story.
Well, we just finished singing "Come Thou Fount"
Yes.
with every blessing, and it was a great uplift for the fact that we've been away, isolated from the pandemic.
Yes.
And you don't realize how many blessings you have until you are when you have to be still,
Right.
not by
Right.
choice, but because of circumstances.
Exactly.
And I believe the first time I really believed or thought there really is a God was I was 10 years old. My grandmother used to preach and read the Bible and very spiritual and talked about God all the time. But I think it really resonated in me when I was 10. My dad was in Vietnam, and we lived on the same street as another family named Chambers.
Okay.
And they were actually down the street and around the corner, but we were in the same block. And the minister came to our house, both houses, to tell us that one of our husbands were killed in Vietnam.
Oh,
They
both
told
fathers
both families,
were in
both
Vietnam.
Chambers.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And we were living in Salina, Kansas,
Okay.
and that's where they housed the families whose husbands and fathers were in Vietnam. So that was the family, kind of the location that they had us all. So we were all of our fathers were in Vietnam.
Oh, okay. So
And
it was a military type of
military
community.
environment.
Okay.
And so so what we did, we didn't even know we had another Chambers on the block.
Wow.
So we went with the minister to their house. We prayed and everything. And my mom, and I remember the other mom, they were crying and they said, well, we don't want to wish you any bad.
Right.
And so as it turns out, it was the other family. And I felt a very deep sorrow for the other family. At the same time, I felt blessed that God looked out for our father. My father was my hero. He was my rock growing up. And I remember when he returned from Vietnam, I was so devastated by that possibility. That made it real.
Yeah.
That possibility, I followed him all over the house. I wouldn't let him out of
Wow.
my sight. It was
Wow.
very, very traumatizing for
Yeah.
me at that age. I was about 10. So just moving forward into my adult life, I experienced things. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And
Didn't know that.
I didn't know. I thought something was wrong. I went to the doctor. I had all the tests, the mammograms, the sonograms. They said you were fine. And I said, no, I had something in me said something isn't right. And I went back, and my doctor he was on vacation, but he called me and said, everything's fine. And he said, but I'll have to do a biopsy if you feel that strongly about it, just to make sure.
Yeah.
And so after he did the biopsy, he found that I did have cancer. I could remember coming out of the fog, his face coming towards me. It was very
Right.
sad and like he felt really, really bad. He took my hand and
Yeah.
I was still in the recovery room and
Yeah.
he said, I'm so sorry. He was had such a great bedside manner.
Yeah.
And I just remember, it was like, I'll never forget, it was on a Friday. And so I had to go for an appointment the following week as to what the plan was.
Got it. Yeah.
And whether it was going to be chemo, whether it was going to be a biopsy, a mastectomy, whatever it was.
Right.
And so that's what we did. So I had an appointment scheduled for that. I believe it was on a Tuesday. And it happened to be 9/11. So as I was
Really?
getting myself ready to go for my appointment to get my prognosis, what the plan was, I saw the towers, the two planes hitting the towers, and I didn't live too far from the Pentagon, so I heard the impact, felt the impact in our building of that plane hitting the Pentagon, and my mind just, because I know people that had business trips to the Twin Towers. I had family and friends in the Pentagon, and so I almost looked at it as those people didn't have a chance. They didn't have a chance. They didn't have a choice because it happened to them. But I feel like God is opening my eyes and making me see that this isn't as bad as it could be, and that you must realize that you have an opportunity here to possibly heal,
Right.
get treatment, and come out of this, whereas other
Right.
people didn't. So that's when my eyes were open wide. But that experience really, really opened my eyes and really helped me believe. And my favorite scripture is Psalm 121. I lifted mine eyes to the hills,
Yeah.
from whence cometh my help.
Wow.
And so and I ended up having stage 3. And had I gone on my life without believing what the doctor said, I would have probably not been here today. I was, at that time, I was training for my 3rd Army 10-miler, and I was a month away
Wow.
from that.
So did
And-
you serve as well?
No, I didn't.
Okay. But your father, he was
my
a
dad-
general.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 3-star general,
Wow.
and he was the 7th Corps commander, 1st Cavalry commander in Fort Hood, 7th
Wow.
Corps in Stuttgart.
Wow.
And so I was, yeah, he was a blessing. The only other thing
Okay.
I wanted to share is that I was selected for a position. I was working for ATF. I was selected for a position with the FBI. It was a position that I put in for that I didn't know what it was. I just put in for it randomly, and I got selected, and it was a promotion. And it turned out to be a blessing in that I got a promotion. I had a great boss, and I don't even know how I qualified, except that when I went in for the interview, I really couldn't answer their questions because it was records management. Now I'm a
Okay.
records management expert, but
Okay.
then I was not.
Right.
And so what I found is I met people within that organization that actually were supervisors and worked for me. I had a boss that was very, she was terrorizing me daily. and mistreated me, talked to me terrible, and I withstood the storm of her. But in the midst of that, I was able to, with another team, help other people in the organization get promotions, make them feel worthy, make them feel intelligent,
Wow.
make them feel, because even though I was being tormented, I didn't want that to spill over to my staff.
Yeah.
And I do everything I can to try to help people, because I think it's so much easier to be kind, professional and kind, and not terrorize people and mean to people for no reason. There was no reason for her to do that, but she just, for whatever reason, I don't think she cared for me too much, but I withstood her abuse, and other people have come and gone and been happy and thanked me and said, thank you for letting me retire from a happy place. Thank
Wow.
you for giving me a chance. I mean, I had people they would give me kind of the what they thought were the misfits of the organization, and then
Right.
I watered the grass, and they grew, and they were outstanding employees after all.
See,
So,
that's interesting because I've had every project that I've been on, I've always had this one person. It's rarely been more than one, but at least it's always been one
yeah,
that we just butt heads. We didn't seem to get along, and I've had this recurring thing that I do because it's happened so much. I just get, really my prayer life with God is kind of raw. I say, okay, God, you know what? I need you to help me with this
Yes.
because I just want to just smack this person upside the head.
yes,
I'm just telling them, I'm just be
Yes,
honest. I
yes.
said, God, I need you to change them, change me, or change the situation. Because sometimes it could be my perspective, And I'm telling you, without fail, every single time is either that person is moved or God does something in me to soften my words and how I treat that person, and then they respond differently, or its perspective was different. But it inevitably, every single time, it's worked out that way. And that's just become just one of my ways of dealing with
yeah.
difficult people on the job. I wanna go back to, you say, because you got that position.
What's that?
The position that you started out in, and you got it, but you don't know how is it that you
I
even.
don't know. I didn't, because I put in my application. I forgot to submit a form. If you don't submit all the forms,
Right.
then they don't. You're not qualified.
Yeah.
But they called and said, "Hey, you didn't submit this form," and I was like, "Oh, okay." I faxed it over to them.
Yeah.
And then I got the interview. I went through the interview, and I said, "There's no way I got this." And it was back in the day. It was before we really wore pants to work. So I wore a pantsuit. I just wore pinstripe pants. I wasn't even
Right.
trying. I said, "I'm not going to get this." And God opened it up, and He put me in a place with good people, and I was feeling so blessed.
Wow.
But anyway, it was just amazing that maybe it wasn't so much the position was for me to have the opportunity with this promotion. Maybe I was sent there to be a blessing to others.
Yeah.
And that's what I looked at it, that stop focusing on people being mean and treating you a certain way. That's not what you're here for. You're here to do your job and to make sure others are taken care of.
Wow.
And but I really, really, really appreciate you thinking of me and giving me this opportunity.
I'm humbled by that. I'm humbled
And
by
I'm
that.
humbled too.